it's true that Confucius teaches the negative golden rule, or the silver rule, it's sometimes called. Do not do to others what you want them to not do to you. It's a myth, however, that he does not teach the positive principle, the golden rule itself, the full golden rule. Do to others what you want them to do to you. Now, to be fair to the myth, he does not, so far as I can tell, teach it explicitly and universally, but he does teach it implicitly, and he does explicitly say the positive principle with respect to some things, just not with respect to everything. Let's review the negative golden rule. Here's from the Analects, translated by Raymond Dawson. Zigong, his disciple, says, "If I do not want others to inflict something on me, I also want to avoid inflicting it on others." And Confucius measures his disciple by this standard and says, this is a point you have not yet reached. Another conversation between Confucius and Zigong teaches the same principle. Zigong asks, is there a single word such that one could practice it throughout one's life? Confucius replies, reciprocity perhaps? Do not inflict on others what you yourself would not wish done to you. Now, this is pretty common knowledge. He's teaching the negative golden rule. What about the positive golden rule? Well, let's go to the 6th chapter of the Analects. Now, the humane man, wishing himself to be established, sees that others are established, and wishing himself to be successful, sees that others are successful. That is the golden rule. That's the positive version of the golden rule, but it's not applied universally. He's not saying, in all things, do to others what you want them to do to you. He does say, in some things, in this matter and in that matter, do to others what you want them to do to you. But look at what he says at the same time, in the same passage also, Analects chapter 6. He continues, he elaborates, and he says, to be able to take one's own familiar feelings as a guide may definitely be called the method of humaneness. To be able to know what is right with respect to others by knowing what is right with respect to ourselves may be called the art of virtue, may be called the method of humaneness. I believe the art of virtue, that language is from the public domain translation by Legge. The method of humaneness, that was Dawson again. So here is Daniel Gardner in Confucianism, a very short introduction. He comments on this theme in the Analects. He says, true goodness lies in the direction of empathetic behavior. In dealing with others, we are obliged to treat them as we ourselves would wish to be treated. We need to put ourselves in their place, to plumb our own feelings in order to judge the feelings of others. So Confucius is teaching the positive golden rule here. If the way to know what is right in our treatment of others is to know what is right with respect to ourselves, the positive principle is going to follow. If there's ever anything we want others to do for us, and not just things we want them to not do to us. And of course there are things we want others to do for us. Here is one more scholar, Herbert Fingeret. He concurs. He says Confucius is pursuing, through careful attention to the moral significance of our social rituals, our social customs, our practices. The word li means ritual or rite, or our social customs and habits that incarnate an account of morality. Fingeret thinks Confucius is studying the importance of these things and trying to understand them and to articulate them and to teach the importance of these rituals. And here is what Fingeret says. Confucius is dealing with the moral perfection implicit in achieving one's ends by dealing with others as beings of equal dignity, as free co-participants in li. Confucius is looking at the moral perfection implicit in getting what we want by dealing with others as beings of equal dignity, as equal participants in these rituals that make up the fabric of human life. Fingeret elaborates on this moral perfection, and he links it explicitly to the golden rule from the Bible. He says, thus, perfect community of men, the Confucian analog to Christian brotherhood, becomes an inextricable part, the chief aspect of divine worship. Again, an analog with the central law taught by Jesus. So, the golden rule is not just something taught by Confucius. It's central, it's integral to his teaching. And it's not just the negative rule. He tells us what to do and not just what not to do, although Confucius is somewhat less explicit on this than is Jesus.